If you've just finished one of the ACOTAR books and you're feeling a little bit heartsick, a little bit hungover, and just maybe disappointed that you have to go back to real life, same. This video is for you. Also, spoiler alert, there's gonna be spoilers for the first 4 books in this video. I've been trying to figure out why it is so hard to leave this world, why I keep wanting more after I put the books down. I've been scouring YouTube and TikTok trying to find more of that feeling, trying to find like an extension of that world, but it's actually really hard to pin down. The closest I've come to describing it is that ACOTAR has this atmospheric, emotional texture that feels addictive. It's not just that the plot is good or the romance or the world building is good, and all of those things are. It's that everything feels charged with significance. Everything feels heightened, and I think that's why it's so hard to leave. A big part of what is sticking with me is Feyre's hero's journey. Before she ever gets powers, before she ever steps fully into that larger world, she already has this deep well of tenacity. She has this inner strength that makes her compelling from the start. She's already enduring so much, already braving danger and her own suffering just to keep her family alive. When we get to Under the Mountain, it feels like the same strength surging past her fear, past her broken body, past everything that should have stopped her. And she manages to save not only Tamlin, but everyone trapped under Amarantha's curse. Watching someone discover what they're capable of, watching them be pushed to the edge and become more than they were before, it wakes something up in you. It woke something up in me. And I think that's part of the pull of ACOTAR. It's not just immersive, it's activating, it's inspiring. You're not just visiting this world, you're taking on the perspective of someone fighting their way into strength, into purpose, and that stays with you. And then of course there's the romance, and that feels funny to say because obviously that's such a huge part of why these books are so addictive. But I think the romance hits so hard because there's significance and weight to it. It's yearning, hope, confusion, doubt, tension, longing, friendship, finally being seen. Even thinking back to Tamlin and Feyre in the first book, I know that relationship gets overshadowed by everything that comes after. But remember that summer solstice scene? It's one of my favorite parts of the whole series. The music, the dancing, the fairy wine, the joy and defiance against fear. And then they run off together to watch the will-o'-the-wisps. It was such a classic fairy tale moment, that sense of being drawn toward each other and finally giving into it, finally acknowledging it. Their romance had sweetness, it had pull. And of course, that's nothing compared to the faded, world-altering, almost mythic connection between Feyre and Rhys. And I went into this series with no spoilers, so that whole turn of events completely got me. At first, I would not even accept Rhys. I came around though, and the lead up to chapter 54 in A Court of Mist and Fury was almost impossible to endure in the best of ways. When the whole story suddenly lines up, when he explains everything, when you realize who Feyre has been to him all along, and the depth of his feelings for her, it's one of the most emotionally satisfying moments in a book that I've read. The idea that Rhys was calling to her, looking for her at Calanmai, finding her before either of them really knew what was happening, sending her visions, that she was painting the night sky on her dresser drawers, back in her old life before any of this began, and that in some distant way she was already a comfort to him in his darkest moments. That he was the one who sent the music that helped pull her out of the depths of her despair in that cell under the mountain. That storyline makes the whole world feel even more charged and interconnected, more faded. But there's something else about their relationship that's much more grounded in a real life ideal, and that's truly being seen. It's what makes their relationship work, but it's also what makes the whole series work. Feyre is constantly moving towards places and people that see more in her than she sees in herself. And as a reader, that's deeply satisfying because I think a lot of people are hungry for that, to be recognized in that way, to be known that way. And then there's the found family aspect that makes this story so hard to set down. Feyre falls into step with exactly the kind of friendships I think people crave. They're people who show up for one another, people who make room for each other's grief and rage and healing, people who have each other's backs no matter what. Cassian helped Feyre out of her depression by training her, giving her a way back into her own strength and power, and sense of agency. Mor literally saves her from Tamlin's imprisonment, but she's also the friend who will sit on the couch with her and drink way too much wine while they laugh at the boys. Amren, Asriel, all of them. There's banter and irreverence and fun, but there's also loyalty, safety, and belonging. And then there's Velaris. Sarah J. Maas somehow created a city that feels both like Paris and your hometown. It's full of life and possibility, but it also feels safe, familiar, cozy. Velaris is walking along the river under the stars after having a glass of wine at a sidewalk cafe. It's streets that curve toward music and light. It's beauty and art and food and the feeling that life could be fuller there. But it's also cozy. It's sitting in the townhouse in an oversized sweater, drinking tea, watching the snow fall outside. It's both adventure and refuge. And I think that's why people miss it like it actually exists, like they've actually been there before. I think the reason why it's so hard to leave the world of ACOTAR is because this series gives emotional experiences their full size. Struggles matter. Love matters, friendship matters. Life is infused with purpose and meaning. There's suffering in these books, but it isn't empty suffering. It leads somewhere, it transforms people. It reveals people to themselves. Feyre learns what she's capable of. She finds purpose in fighting for other people. She finds purpose in painting and in teaching others how to sit with and work through their own trauma through art. And witnessing that hero's journey does something to you as a reader. It wakes you up a little. And to me, that is the magic of this series. I admit I do have some critiques. I talk about that in another video. I'll link that above. But I still can't stop thinking about this world. There's just something about the significance of it, the romance, the longing, the found family, the beauty of Velaris, the sense of becoming, the feeling that this world is painful but meaningful and enchanted and full. That's it for now. If you like videos like this, please like and subscribe. It's been so tough trying to find my corner of the internet, but I'm convinced that it's out there. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.